everyone, good morning to you. Here's Eddie Sasquatch coming to you live, early morning, 1:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday the 27th of April 2020. Good morning. Hello YouTube. So this is just going to be a quick little topic to start as far as I can feel it in my thoughts. And this one is about, let me think, lost it there for a little bit. This is regarding where are you now? And that's in the context of, is this the real reality? Or are we perhaps in a dreaming coma? So, have you ever had a dream where some of you, others maybe not, but you know, I'm sure all of you have had dreams, but I mean in the context of where you wake up out of that dream, you're still partially in a slumber, but enough to know it's like, oh damn, that was just a dream. And you have to go run to the bathroom, go pee, you come back, you're still in that partial slumber, you lay down, and you fall asleep. And some people might actually fall back in the same dream, but others fall back into a dreaming condition, and they have another dream or a series of dreams, depending on what the condition of your body and your brain is, and that's going to be relevant to you respectively. And in the next dream, before you wake up for the start of your day, you're, say for example, maybe you're playing volleyball, and you're very actively, vigorously involved in volleyball, and you're having a good time, and you make a spike in the volleyball, and you're winning, you're all excited, and then you somehow at the same time you stir and wake out of it, and you wake out of it in such a way that you remember what you were doing, but of course you realize that it's a dream. Or is it a dream? Is it possible that somewhere along the line you had an accident, you had a drug overdose, someone induced you with drugs, or you had some chemical exposure and you slipped into a coma, or what is called a dreaming coma? How would you know the difference? What is the real reality when both in the dream and in your alleged real reality you have very strong sensations, emotions, passions, and thinking capacity? Where then can you sense the boundaries of the dream versus the supposed real reality? So I pose this question for you so as to intentionally load your thoughts, especially in light of or in lieu of the technologies that are alleged to be available. And again, remember that on one side, what is alleged to be available might not necessarily be the case. It might just be like the Wizard of Oz, I think it was, the one guy behind the scenes pulling a whole bunch of different levers and strings to enact a scene or the act, and to give it the illusion of more than one person is doing all this. So if you can convince people that you have all these powerful technologies, then perhaps it's, once you can convince them you have a technology that you don't have, well, you don't even have to take that money and spend it on it, perhaps, because the belief of it alone precludes the people from looking further, because, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed, I can't take it, that's it, I give up. And so you fall back and you regroup to your comfort zone. That's a very natural thing. In fact, that is what the subconscious mind, as I'm watching some of these other presenters' videos, I'm very, very lucky to be, I would almost call it affluential in their category, to have so much time and resources available at their disposal and their discretion to be able to undertake such research, but that the subconscious mind is designed in part or more to be able to keep you protected in your comfort zone, which of course, if you can also induce someone into a dream or fall victim to being induced into a dream, by falling as a natural event. You out ice skating, you slip on the ice, and boom, you fall and you smack your head. But you wake up. But what you don't realize, you can't sense, is that you woke up into the dreaming coma. Well, here's a little bit of clarification as it's coming through now, because I'm doing this all impromptu. Intentionally so, because I don't know how to do the video editing yet, and I really, part of my intent always is to be able to speak directly from the heart and be very, very intelligible about it. You fall into that coma. Now I lost the train of thought with that clarification, and without a prior precept in your thoughts that somehow becomes cued once you're in that coma, if there's no way for someone to be piped into your thoughts, into your dream-like condition while you are otherwise in a persistent vegetative state, is the other term, after I believe 28 days on the Glasgow scale. This is the scale that they use to determine what a person's chances are of going to recover out of a coma. And there is some very phenomenal cases where people have been in comas for up to 20 or more years and have, thankfully, recovered from those comas. And I have some interesting details to offer, but unfortunately not a clear-cut road of how can we alleviate this situation where someone doesn't fall into a coma and then they have to be taken care of. And that's in the present time. Who only knows, in the past, how many people ended up getting buried. This expression is getting buried alive, and there was even a movie entitled as such, Being Buried Alive, because they didn't have the awareness, the information available to them in those particular days in the past, that to realize that this was a condition, and yet perhaps they did. They didn't have enough of the information, but they had a greater awareness than what we have right now. Is that, are a lot of these people really dead, or are they literally in some altered state of consciousness, whatever terminology they would use back in the past, all the way up to the point where those terms were really used. And this is where last year, 2019, that would have been March, particularly moved by that lady while I was doing some wolfing out at the farm over there in New Jersey, in and around the area of Lakewood, I believe, was one of the surrounding cities, Lakewood and Howell area of New Jersey, and quasi a UK setting, and in one scene, the female actors were perfectly seemingly healthy, fine, and they contracted whatever particular situation was ensuing at that time, and they look relatively healthy, but they're not awakening, and they should be awake. They should have had their sleep cycle, so they should be fully rested, because they had no appearances of being ill before that. And they're aggressively, vigorously shaking them and slapping them and yelling at them to try to get them awake, but they don't. And also think of the terms in the past, they used to call it a wake in certain areas, and they would have the people in their own home in the parlor, and is this perhaps to see if they would again awake. So maybe they didn't have the same terminology, the coma and this persistent vegetative state, all these fancy terms for people who, saying it nicely, have quite a few resources at their disposal and unfortunately their discretion, while the rest of us aren't so equally afforded these same resources and opportunities. And so we're maybe actually the deficient ones in this time frame, and when you think of it from that standpoint, then yes, indeed, we are the deficient ones. So I see the time limit here is getting up there, so since I'm trying to do this impromptu, I have to cut it off. Hopefully I've contained enough points in there to stimulate these questions that I've had, to have them planted the same, or implanted the same in your thoughts, and to further the concepts. And please, of course, get that recognition back to me, as I, not only this time, but I need it financially and socio-politically to rebuild my name after defamation, and to have the resources, no less, than to become something more than a Sasquatch myself. I had to take on the name to roll with the punches a little bit, given the social political circumstances against me, knocking me down and holding me down in more than one area. And so I needed to roll with the punches to keep my congenial mood. So yes, is it that you could slip into a coma and then not know the difference that you're inside of the coma, because many of the same sensations we have in the wake are the same, or at least similar, for the best that we can sense them when you're in a dream. And so then how can we know what the difference is between the coma, or this dreaming coma condition, and the real reality? So you go and visit someone in a hospital, a relative, a friend, or whoever, or you just see them online and you see them in a coma, and you have a moment of repose to think about, where are they? What's going on? Is it like oh, they're just a vegetable? What are they really? It says, the one says that the coma is a protective state where your body tries to alleviate conditions, but you're actually living within inside your brain. So it's like a sphere within a sphere, because if the whole of your reality is only within your brain, all your hardware senses are all transmitted back to the brain, in their model anyhow, via the electromagnetic impulses, and all that is then tabulated or calculated or computed within the brain itself. So what truly then is your real experience of reality? It's really all a simulation within your brain, your mind's eye, and then even more potentially twisted or contorted by the perception through whichever grid and or condition a way that grid is in your thoughts to create those perceptions different than your physical sensory perception ability and capacity. So I'm going to cut it off with that. Hopefully I've conveyed the concepts correctly. Thank you so much for your time, and I don't yet have a Patreon or other means up there. I just started looking at it tonight, but for any of you that appreciate my contents, I'm going to try to do it more so as I can develop one of the techniques of, such as we were learning in the past, to be able to create the vivid imagery in your thoughts, and to evoke the impulses that we've been robbed of, and which we need desperately to get back. We are too endroned and or hypnotized, entranced, and we're not living fully awake in the here and now, and we need to get back to that to have the richness and the beauty of life, and our also greater physical capacity. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. God bless, or other blessings and tidings, and anything you can help with is greatly appreciated. Eddie Sasquatch, Edward Joncheski, out.